Hey there! In this video we're going to look at a Volkswagen Polo gearbox that won't engage fifth gear anymore. It just makes a grinding noise and bolts out of gear when you try. I have removed the gearbox to make it easier to film, but you don't actually need to do this. You can just drop the engine slightly if you want to until you have the clearance to remove the end cover. There's a link in the top right of the screen now, and this shows the removal of the gearbox and how to drop the engine. This is quite a simple repair, and we start by removing the gear selector shaft. This can also cause the same issue, but we will come back to that later. With the shaft removed, we can flip the box up and can start removing the end cover. With the end cover removed, we can slide out the pin for the selector fork. Looking closely, we can see the two bushes are badly worn on the selector fork. I suspect this is the reason for the issue and the subsequent damage. Here I am removing the collar for the synchro hub. These three little collets are what hold the collar in the central position. This close-up of the collar shows how badly worn the teeth are from not fully engaging. On the new collar, you can see what it should look like without any wear on the teeth. After removing the retaining ring, the synchro hub will slide off. We then remove the synchro ring, and this does have some slight wear, but it's not easily visible in this shot. This is the synchro meshed fifth gear, and what I'm trying to show here is the wear on the synchro mesh part of the gear. If we look at this close up, you can clearly see the worn meshed section of the gear. If we now look at this second picture of the new gear, this shows how clear and defined the meshed part of the gear should be. There was basically nothing left for the synchro collar to engage with when the fifth gear was selected. The last part to remove is the needle roller bearing. And that's it for dismantling this box for this repair. We can go straight into replacing the damaged parts. We start by fitting a new bearing for the gear, then the gear itself, followed by the synchro ring, then the synchro hub. This lines up in these three places. You'll know it's the right way up because this black ring faces towards you. Once that's on, you can fit a new retaining ring. I thought it would be worth showing the selector fork again in a better close-up of where it had actually worn on the bushes. I think this was the cause of the issue, and it was preventing the synchro collar fully engaging, which started to wear their teeth out. This is further backed up by the fact that they have heavily modified the fork on the replacement part, which you can see here. The replacement fork slides in easily and is secured again with the retaining pin. You can see here I am removing the swarf from the old gear that has collected in the box. Ideally, you would strip the box and recover as much as possible, but cost-wise for the customer, this unfortunately wasn't an option on this job. So the best I could do was collect as much as possible with a magnet and then flush the box a couple of times with fresh oil. There are magnets inside that should collect and hold most of what's left, if any. Another thing to note if you do take on this job is they have modified the old gasket and end cover. You can see here on the old gasket the spacer washers are moulded into the gasket itself, and on the replacement gasket they are no longer present. That's because they have added the spacers to the end cover itself, so you will need to replace the gaskets and the end cover as a pair. These bolts for the end cover should be replaced and set to the correct torque. Now, I did mention earlier the gear selector shaft could also be the cause of this issue. What I have mostly out of focus trying to show here is the 2 pins on the selector fork. The casing can break on the first pin and jam the selector, and the second pin here can just bend, break or come loose. If either of these happen, you will need a new selector shaft. So now I have finished playing past the gearbox. I'm just making sure all the selectors are lined up inside the box before I put the selector shaft back in. I'm also cleaning off the old gasket for the selector shaft and replacing it with some new sealant. I hope this helps someone, and that's it. Thanks for watching.